Hi there, and welcome to Friday Focus, where we do not focus on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Today, in Friday Focus, we're going to be taking a look at the book of Song of Solomon. Now, at first glance, it may seem surprising to us that the Song of Solomon is in Scripture, since the book is all about love, marriage, and the sexual delight that satisfies the human craving for intimacy. Chuck Swindoll writes, "The fullness of the union that takes place at marriage is described in some of the most splendid poetic language in the entire Bible. In a world where so many speak of God's special gifts with coldly clinical or apathetic statistical language, the passion of Solomon's poetry refreshes a world thirsty for the truth about marriage." I've jotted down some key verses that I think you might appreciate. And the first one says, "Promise me, O women of Jerusalem, by the gazelles and wild deer, not to awaken love until the time is right." And it's from Song of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 7. It's also found in chapter 3, verse 5, and again in chapter 8, verse 4. Another one is found in Song of Solomon, the latter half of chapter 5, verse 1, that says, "O lover and beloved, eat and drink, yes, drink deeply of your love." And then there's, "Place me like a seal over your heart, like a seal on your arm. For love is as strong as death, its jealousy as enduring as the grave. Love flashes like fire, the brightest kind of flame. Many waters cannot quench love, nor can rivers drown it. If a man tried to buy love with all his wealth, his offer would be utterly scorned." That's from Song of Solomon, chapter 8, verses 6 and 7. So we come to our 5 questions. The first one being, who wrote Song of Solomon? Well, it's generally accepted that, it's generally accepted that King Solomon was the author. Internal evidence in chapters 1, 3, and 8 supports this. 1 Kings chapter 4, verse 32 also mentions Solomon wrote 1,005 songs. It's called Song of Songs because Solomon felt that this was the best one. When was the Song of Solomon written? We know Solomon wrote this song during the early part of his reign, which means he would have composed it between 971 and 931 BC. One reason is because of what we're told in chapter 6, verse 8, in which the combined number of wives and concubines totals 140 women. Now, this number is rather low considering what 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 3 tells us. It says that Solomon's final tally of ladies was 700 wives and 300 concubines for a grand total of 1,000 women. So it seems that 140 women means this was written early in his reign. Where did Song of Solomon take place? The author Solomon mentions places from both northern and southern Israel. So it's accepted that the song's composition took place within the boundaries of Israel. What is Song of Solomon about? The book is a poem written in script form. And there's a dialogue that takes place between Solomon and a young Shulamite girl. The song falls naturally into what I like to call the 3 C's. There's the courtship, chapter 1, verse 1 through chapter 3, verse 5. There's the ceremony, chapter 3, verse 6 through chapter 5, verse 1. And then the continuation, chapter 5, verse 2 through chapter 8, verse 14. First of all, let's take a look at the courtship. We're introduced to the couple before the wedding when the emotional level of young love has blinded them to all others. The young woman can think of no one else but her husband-to-be, and she fantasizes as she looks forward to the intimate caresses of her fiancé. Yet wisely, she advises us to allow love to bloom naturally. And Solomon, he can think only of her beauty, and she becomes secure in his expression of love for her. During the night, she dreams she has lost Solomon and searches for him, enlisting the help of the city guards. And she finally finds Solomon and holds on to him, not daring to let go. Upon awakening, she repeats her advice to allow love to bloom naturally. Then there's the ceremony. Solomon, with an honor guard, approaches his beloved for the wedding. And when he sees his bride-to-be, he extols her beauty, and she becomes his wife. On their wedding night, using highly symbolic language, she invites Solomon to enjoy her as his wife, likening their lovemaking to choice fruits. Finally, the continuation. Afterwards, the relationship continues, revealed to us through another dream. Although not without its difficulties, she spurns him and he leaves. Once again, she searches for him. This time, the city guards don't help her, but they beat her, symbolizing her guilty conscience. However, the two newlyweds are soon reunited and work out their differences. The end of the song reveals that both are finally secure in their love for one another, and the truth about lasting love is expressed. So, why was the Song of Solomon written? The song was written to praise the virtues of love between a husband and wife. In these days, when the institution of marriage is under attack and the traditional pattern of the husband and wife building a committed life together is being torn apart, the Song of Solomon clearly presents marriage as God's design. You see, God purposed that a man and woman should live together within marriage. It is every bit as much a spiritual act as it is a physical one. In fact, the ideal marriage has a couple loving each other spiritually, emotionally, and physically. So what's the Song of Solomon takeaway? What can we use if we were to read the book? What can we take away with us into our marriage? What can we learn from the Song of Solomon? Well, the book presents a broad range of feelings to the reader. Everything from courtship, marriage, and the assurance of love is considered. Solomon doesn't hide from us the molehill issues that can become mountains within a marriage. Instead, they're pitted against the enduring love of a husband and wife who are determinedly committed to one another. So, here are 4 practical guidelines from Song of Solomon to incorporate into your marriage. I use the acronym HEED, H-E-E-D, because it's advice that should be heeded. So the H stands for hearken. Give your spouse attention. Listen more, talk less. Cultivate an attitude of gratitude. The E in heed stands for encourage more. Praise frequently and ban biting criticism. The second E is enjoy one another. Plan short getaways, be creative, spring surprises. And finally, the D is do whatever is necessary to strengthen your commitment to your spouse. Work through problems. Don't allow divorce to be an option. A happy person marries the individual they love, but a happier person loves the individual they marry. This is Dr. Vic Hollifron in His Grace. If you have any comments or questions, please touch base with me at vicsfridayfocus@gmail.com. God bless you. Have a terrific week and enjoy your marriage.